Hey guys, welcome. We've got day number 3 of our advanced mobility program. Today's focus is pretty heavy focus on back bending. We're gonna do a bridge today. We're gonna need 2 pieces of equipment, so some sort of yoga strap or a towel or something that you can hold for shoulder dislocates if you know them, and then we're gonna be needing a yoga block, just one for today. So we're gonna get started with hip openers with no hands. So let's have a seat on the bum and open the legs up to about 90, and we'll have the knees bent to 90. So sit nice and tall, try to keep your torso and hips faced forward, and we're gonna swivel the hips in and out. Here we go. So only swivel as far down as you can without crawling the bum forward. You can use the arms to stay nice and upright. If you are crawling forward with the hips, just push the hips back into the socket. Let's get those hips nice and warm. Here we go. As usual, round 1, kind of our warm-up round. Rounds 2 and 3 are gonna be a little bit tougher. And that's time, so let's come to hands and knees. We're gonna do some alternating T-spine openers. So we'll come to hands and knees and bring your elbows down where your hands were, hands up by the head. And from here, we're just gonna rotate one elbow up to the ceiling as far as you can go, and then switch sides. So let's go ahead. We'll start with one side, reach up to the ceiling, twist through the spine, and back down. Try not to twist too much from the hips. We want the T-spine working to get this rotation. Just getting the spine warmed up before we start bending backward. All right, so we're gonna need our block for the next one. We're doing a shoulder bridge static. Our first back bend. Let's take the block, lie down on the back. Block's gonna go between the knees. Lie down with your fingers just barely able to touch your heels. We're gonna lift the hips up into a bridge. Make sure you're squeezing the thighs together. Lift as high as you can, and we can interlace the arms behind the back. And from here, keep bringing the shoulders closer and closer together and lifting the hips higher. Keep rolling onto the shoulders as much as you can. Press the hips together, or knees together. Press the hips up to the sky. Feel the front of the body opening and the bum working. And let's keep bending the back. We're gonna grab our strap for the shoulder dislocates. Now, you don't have to do these kneeling like I am. You can stand for it. I just wanna stay on the camera. So let's grab the hands nice and wide to start. Keep your arms completely straight. We're gonna come all the way up and around and touch the back on each rep. And then each rep you can grab a little bit closer together to make it a little bit harder until you find the limit of your flexibility. Feel a big stretch through the chest. Make sure you're keeping the shoulder blades together as you do these. Feel that nice big stretch all through the shoulder. Control it. Go right back to the beginning. So let's start with our hip openers. Get the hips ready. Keep the hands off the floor. Torso nice and upright with these, and just swivel side to side. Let's get ready. So nice and upright. Just swivel the hips in and out. Back to our T-spine openers. So let's come to hands and knees. We're gonna bring the elbows to the floor and rotate one elbow up to the sky at a time, opening up the T-spine. You can bring your knees a little bit wider to an A-frame, so we're not twisting too much from the hips. We wanna mostly be twisting from the upper spine. So let's begin. All right, back to our shoulder bridge. Let's grab the block for between the knees. So your feet are gonna be pretty close together. And let's go ahead and lift the hips, press the thighs together, and as you're up in this top position, roll the shoulders together and try and get more and more of your body weight up onto the shoulders. Interlace the arms behind the back. And press the ribs up. Try to have most of the bend coming from the upper back and opening up the spine. Squeeze the thighs together to squeeze that block and open up the hips. All right. And we're gonna finish with those shoulder dislocates. Once we're done here, we can put all of our blocks aside and strap aside, as we won't need any more equipment for the rest. So let's go ahead nice and wide, and all the way up and around we go. Keep the arms nice and straight and feel that big stretch through the chest. Grab a little bit closer together each rep to really feel that stretch through the chest as you go. If you do any Olympic weightlifting, this is a great warm-up movement for overhead squats and snatches. All right, round one, or circuit number one is done. We're gonna move on to some harder stuff. We got some natural leg extensions, puppy dog stretch, camel, which is a pretty tough back bend, and then we'll move into some stuff for the shoulders with a child's pose shoulder raise. So we can put our equipment aside. I'm gonna toss mine off screen here. We won't need those anymore. Got a quick little rest here. So starting off our next circuit with natural leg extensions. This is very hard quad and hip flexor stretch and exercise. You'll see them a lot on the channel. But let's go ahead and get ready. So we'll be in a tall kneeling position to start. Have your shins flat to the floor and make sure your bum is squeezed for this one. So we have a straight line between the torso and the thighs. We want no bend in the hips. And we're gonna lean the chest back as far down as you can go. Feel that big, intense stretch and work of the thighs and the hip flexors. So let's go ahead and begin. Nice and slow, controlled, and then back up. And then ideally, you'll feel yourself able to go a little bit lower each time until they start to get tired. Almost there. And that's time. Okay, we've got a puppy dog stretch. So let's come down to the hands and knees. So for this, try to keep your knees directly below the hips and walk the arms out in front. And we're gonna try and bring the head and eventually the chest down to the floor, keeping the arms straight, focusing on these armpit muscles here. So really keep the arms straight, press long, trying to essentially get the arms behind the head and extend it. Think about bringing your shoulder blades together. That can help. We've got another back bend movement here. So come to a tall kneeling position. Again, shins are gonna be flat. I'm gonna take the hands and place your weight on your heels. And then from here, we're gonna press the hips forward and up and bend through the back. And the head goes back. So we're pushing the chest up and forward, hips forward, hands down into the floor, and get as much back bend as you can. And if it feels okay for you, you can lean the head back for a throat stretch. Let's hold. We're gonna work the shoulders a bit. So come on down into a child's pose. So bum down to the heels. You can bring your knees a little bit wide. We're gonna bring the forehead down to the floor and arms are gonna be extended overhead. And from here, we're just gonna be keeping the arms straight and lifting off the floor for that shoulder extension. So shoulders nice and tight, press forward and lift 1, 2, 3, and down. So similar to what we did last week with the puppy dog, but from a slightly different position. All right, back we go to those natural leg extensions. These ones are tough. So we're gonna be in that kneeling position, shins flat, and lean back, feel the thighs and hip flexors working and stretching. We call this eccentric loading. Let's begin. And that's time. Okay, we got a nice puppy dog stretch again. Getting the shoulders stretched out, so hips above the knees. Let's reach strong. Make sure you're pressing into the floor, keeping your arms straight, and trying to bend the upper spine backward as best as we can. Feeling that stretch through the armpit and lat area. Let's get ready. And here we go. So for many people in the bridge, the shoulders is the hardest part. I know that's for me. So we're working a lot on shoulder extension here. Shoulder flexion, sorry. And lift. Push, push, push. Bend the spine. Almost there. All right, we got the camel back bend. Come up to tall kneeling. Hands will be down on the heels and press the ribs forward and up to the ceiling to extend through the back as much as we possibly can and press down into the heels for that extra energy. Let's get ready. 2, 1, and here we go. And if it feels okay for you, you can lean the head back for the throat stretch. Let's get into it. Whew, that's tricky. All right, child's pose. We're gonna lift the shoulders. So let's come on down, bum to heels. Focus on pushing forward and then up. That way we're trying to make the arms long out of the sockets and then lift off the ground. So let's get ready. Here we go. Extend and lift. Keep the arms as straight as you can. Okay, circuit 2 is done. We got our last one here. I'm just gonna start with them deep squatting and bringing the elbows to the floor to work to flex the back. So we've got 2 back bending movements, one being a full bridge. So the deep squat will be a nice relief to the low back after that bridge hold. We're gonna start off with deep squatting, elbows to the floor, got a kneeling back bend, and then a pike stretch. And then we'll go into our full bridge after that. So if you've never done a bridge before, we're just gonna be lying on the back and pressing up, trying to arch the back backward. But let's get ready. We're gonna get into our deep squat position. And then from here, we're gonna alternate, bring one elbow down toward the floor, and then up, and then we'll switch and bring the other elbow down toward the floor, okay? And let's alternate, here we go. Elbow to the floor. It's okay if you can't reach. Elbow to the floor. Elbow to the floor. And keep moving. All right, that's time. So we've got some kneeling back bends. We're gonna come again to tall kneeling. Have your shins flat. We're gonna reach up and bend, especially from the ribs up, backward into a deep back bend. Try to get the arms behind you as if you're trying to have your hands fall to the floor. So let's go ahead, reach up, breathe in, reach back, and back up, as if you're reaching down toward the floor. All right, we've got a pike stretch, so let's come up to standing. Have your feet together, legs nice and straight. We're gonna interlace the hands on the elbows and reach down toward the floor and do a pike stretch with the hands off the ground. So really press thighs straight and reach like you're trying to bring your elbows to the floor the whole time, nice and active. pulling toward the floor. We're almost there. All right, and we've got the full bridge. We're gonna lie down on the back, have your feet planted firm on the floor, hands behind the head, with your fingers pointing towards the shoulders. And we're gonna lift up, as you can see, into the bridge. Try to hold it the whole time if you can. If you need to come up and down, that's totally fine too. But let's get ready and begin. We're gonna hold, start small, and slowly increase the bridge as you're able to handle it as time goes on. We're gonna come out of that into our deep squat. And this is where you'll appreciate that rounded back squat position of the elbows to the floor to alleviate some of that intensity on the low back. Let's get ready into that deep squat. Let's go ahead, elbow to the floor, push, and then elbow to the floor. Okay, we've got a kneeling back bend, so let's come to kneeling. These are always funny because it feels like I'm bending so far back, but then when I watch the video, I look like I've hardly moved, at least in my mind. So reach up overhead, lean back far as you can. Get ready, here we go. Ease into it. All right, Pike stretch. Here we go. Keep the hands off the floor. And then one last bridge. We're out of here for day number 3 being completed. But let's get ready. So feet together. Interlace the hands to the elbows. We're gonna reach the floor, keeping the hands off the floor and keep actively reaching down. Here we go. Keep pulling into it, we're almost there. Okay, we get to finish with some bridge. Again, try to hold it the whole time if you can. If you have troubles, you can go up and down as reps to get the most out of it. Let's get ready. On the back we go, hands by the head, and we'll press into that bridge. And let's get it. We go. Oh, and that's time. All right, guys. Fantastic work today. See you again in a few days. Have a good one.